Thank you so much for coming and spending some time with us today to learn about holder reporting. I'm Annie Daly. I'm the supervisor for the Unclaimed Property Program. And joining me today, I have...
Hello, my name is Annette Winishek. I am the lead worker for the Unclaimed Property Unit.
You can follow along with us with the Holder Report Guide, known as Publication 82, Unclaimed Property Holder Report Guide. It's an attachment to the webinar. You can also find it on our webpage. And you are more than welcome to use the question and answer section of the webinar during the webinar, as well as once we have finished with the presentation, there will be time for more questions and answers.
And just so you are aware, when you ask questions, you won't be able to ask them out loud. You can send them in the chat, and we will be taking the time to answer those questions as they come in at the end of the presentation.
The questions and answers will also be posted on our webpage shortly following the presentation.
Today's topics will include what is unclaimed property, the reporting process overview, tips and tricks for holder reporting, demonstration of holder reporting via My Tax Account, and the questions and answers section.
So unclaimed property started in 1970, and we currently have around 800 million in unclaimed funds. Property is held indefinitely until an owner or their heir is able to come forward to make a claim for the property. The more information that you give us when you file your holder report, the better the odds are that we are able to return that property to its rightful individual or to the proper heirs. Every year there is a surplus that is transferred to the Common School Fund. And in addition to reporting your property, take some time to search our website to see if you, your family, your friends, or your company has unclaimed property. It's about 1 in 7 people do have unclaimed property, and you might just be that lucky one.
What is unclaimed property? Unclaimed property is generally any financial assets that belong to an individual, business, or governmental entity that hasn't had any owner activity for the dormancy period applicable to the property type, and the holder is unable to contact the owner. Several examples include uncashed paychecks, dividends, refunds, shares, the contents of safe deposit boxes, savings accounts, and insurance policies.
So most unclaimed property that gets reported to us is intangible property. It's usually money, it's usually shares or stock, but we do take tangible property in the form of abandoned safe deposit boxes. Securities, stocks, and mutual funds are required to be reported, and for those instructions you can see part 3D sub 2 on how to do that. Virtual currency we also accept, however, it must be liquidated within 30 days of reporting and being turned over to the Department of Revenue. Abandoned real estate, such as livestock, goats, cows, pigs, boats, airplanes, water heaters, all of those things are not things that we take. If you have a lost and found, that does not come to us.
Abandoned securities are liquidated after 1 year. By statute, we're required to sell them after 1 year. We also take abandoned safe deposit box contents. We hold those for a minimum of 2 years, and in the 3rd year, we send anything of value to auction and we destroy any remaining contents.
The only thing that would not get sent to auction is those federal bonds. Those we hang on to, and for the individual to be able to claim, or until we're able to redeem them and hold the cash for that individual.
We, after contents are sold at auction, we apply any funds to unpaid rent or drilling fees, and then the remainder is held for property owners to claim. Our auctions are held online and they are open to the public.
This year we'll have 3 auctions. one in September, one in October, and one in December. So if you're looking for some odd Christmas gifts or holiday presents, you might want to check out our auctions. So you should report unclaimed property if the owner's last address is known to be in Wisconsin. If your business is incorporated in Wisconsin and the owner is unknown, then you can report it to Wisconsin as well. And we also have reciprocal reporting for every state with the exception of California. So if you're going to report for other states, you can report up to 10 properties as long as the majority of what you're reporting is for Wisconsin.
There are several different owner types. The owner type determines if property is advertised on our website. If you report it as aggregate, it's not advertised. The only time you should use this is, you should use it sparingly. It's difficult for us to return this property to the rightful owner, and it must be under $5. All other owners is our most common reporting type. When you report using this type, it's advertised. Select this owner type when you know the owner's name. This should be your default choice. Unknown means that it's not advertised and should only be reported this way if the owner is truly unknown.
Please pay attention when you're selecting the relationship code, as it impacts how we pay out unclaimed property. If it's a single owner, it should be a sole owner for the relationship code. If it is joint property and it should be paid out equally to each owner, you'll want to use unspecified joint. And if it's where it's a first come, it could be one owner or the other owner, then you want to use unspecified or. That determines if, how, when that person makes a claim, whether it gets paid out 100% to the first owner to make the claim, or if it's something that needs to be split equally among the owners.
For insurance policies, be sure to include the insured and the beneficiary. We pay out to the insured owner first if they are alive. If the insured is deceased, then we will pay out to the beneficiary. You're reporting a uniform gift to minor, include the owner, which is normally the minor, and the custodian.
So things that should not get reported to us are funeral or burial, cremation trusts, if the beneficiary is still living. Business-to-business transactions don't need to be reported to us, and if the owner still has an active account. And it's possible that maybe the owner has multiple accounts with you. One there's been activity on, maybe a couple there hasn't. But as long as you still have an active account for that owner, you can consider all accounts that you have for that owner to be active.
Who should report? Wisconsin law requires holders to review their financial records each year to determine if they hold any property that has had no owner activity for the required dormancy period for the property type. Financial institutions, utility companies, and life insurance companies with a physical presence in Wisconsin must file holder report, even if there is no unclaimed property. It's known as a negative report. Again, the only requirements for a negative report are financial institutions, utility companies, and life insurance companies with a physical presence in Wisconsin.
And those really are the only entities that should be filing a negative report. So for the holder reporting process, the first thing you want to do is you want to identify what your abandoned property is. You should review your items annually to see what you have. Identify owners, including the full name, last known address, Social Security or federal employer identification number, and date of birth. Again, the more information that you have and provide to us, the better able we are to reunite that property with its proper owner.
Step 1, attempt to locate the owners. Make a good faith effort to locate the owners. You should send out notification letters, also known as due diligence letters, for properties valued at $50 or more. The letters should be sent between July 1st and September 1st. There is a sample letter on our holder report guide, page 19.
Make sure you're paying attention to the property types and dormancy rates. We have a little sample in our holder guide too that kind of gives you a idea of what it looks like. So for an uncashed payroll check, it's a 1-year dormancy period. You're going to look to see what your last activity was. There's no activity from July 1st of 2022 to June 30th of 2023. It meets the requirements. You're going to report that this year on your unclaimed property report.
We have several examples on whether or not property should be reported. First scenario, a checking account whose last activity date was 3/1/2019. The owner has no other accounts with your bank and has not responded to the due diligence letter. Yes, you should report this. The dormancy period for this type of account is 5 years, included on your 2024 holder report, and include as much information as you have about the owner. You would report that as all other owners so we can advertise it.
Say you have a savings account whose last activity date was January 15th of 2020. This account has not met the dormancy period. It needs to be a 5-year dormancy period. So if this property still has not had any activity in the following year, then you could report this in 2025. But for 2024, you would not report this account.
An uncashed payroll check that was issued on February 15th of 2023 and has not responded to the due diligence letter. Yes, you should report this as the dormancy period is only 1 year, included on your 2024 report, and provide as much information about the owner as you can.
So if there's a car sitting in your parking lot and it's been there for over a year, and you want to know if you can report it to us, you can't. We won't take it. Not the type of unclaimed property that we accept.
Holder reports must be filed electronically. You can upload a standard NAPA formatted report via My Tax account, and it must be in .txt format. You can also use HRS Pro report as HDE, but it must be saved in a .txt file before uploading.
So a lot of folks that do use HRS Pro will download that report. It comes down as a .hde file. You can just do save as and save it as a .txt and then load that txt report when you're uploading your report to our website.
And as a side note, you cannot upload an Excel spreadsheet. It must be in a standard NAPA format.
So you can also manually enter your holder report on our website. You can file as many holder reports as you need. The report number should be in subsequent order. So the first report that you file would be report number 1. If you need to file an additional report, it would be number 2, and then 3, and so forth. Only report the property once though. So if you have a report that you filed and it has 50 properties on it and you realize that you neglected a property that you need to add to it, those 50 properties are going to be on report number 1. That additional property that wasn't included is going to be on report 2 and is going to be the only property on that report. If you have a small number of properties to report, it's most likely going to be easiest for you to select the manually enter option on our website. So when you get to our website, you're going to see a screen that looks like this when you go to and you select to file a holder report. And you're going to see that you have the option to either attach a standard NAPA report file by clicking that circle, or you can click the circle that says manually enter holder report or file negative report. And then once you've made that selection, you'll click add attachments. If you're going to attach the standard NAPA report, you want to click the add attachments. That's how you can add your report to the website. And then you'll click on next, and it'll take you to the next screen. If you're selecting no, if you're selecting manual enter or negative report, you're going to see a screen like this, and you'll have to select, are you filing the negative report? And then you'll either select yes or no, depending on what you're doing, and you'll fill out the remaining information and just kind of walk through the process.
Holder reports and payments are due November 1st of each year following the close of the previous fiscal year, ending June 30th. Safe deposit box contents must be received by December 1st. However, reporting is still due on November 1st. If the report, payment, or contents are received late, they are subject to fees and penalties.
What if you need more time? It happens. Sometimes there are events that come up and you just need a little more time to file. We understand that that happens. There is a holder extension request that is available on our website starting September 1st and runs through October 30th. When you complete that form, if the extension is granted, it's valid for 60 days. That now means that your report and your payment with that extension are due on January 2nd, unless January 2nd happens to fall on a weekend. Then the due date is the next business day immediately following. So any report received after the due date is still subject to penalties and fees. But if you think you need some more time, please, September 1st, check out our website and do file a request for a holder extension.
You may also report early without penalty. So if you're ready prior to November 1st, get your report submitted.
Yeah, if you've already done your due diligence and you're ready to go, we're ready to take your reports.
What if my property exceeds dormancy dates? You can apply for our voluntary disclosure agreement. You can go right to our website, and you are eligible if you meet all of the following. You have unclaimed property to report from any of the 5 most recent reporting periods. You have not been audited for unclaimed property in the previous 5 years or received a notice of an upcoming audit. And you do not have a balance due on your unclaimed property holder account.
Once you've entered into that agreement, you are agreeing that you will make a good faith effort to locate owners of the unclaimed property within 30 days. Those notification letters must be sent to the owners of properties worth $50 or more. And again, there is that sample, due diligence letter in our holder guide. You must continue to report and deliver all unclaimed property for at least the next 4 annual reporting periods. And within 60 days of entering into the agreement, you're going to file your holder report and make your payment.
Payment options. Payments should be made at the same time the holder report is filed. Payments must be made electronically via ACH. We will accept checks made out to the Wisconsin Department of Revenue if ACH is not an option. Bills will be issued if a payment is not made. Just so you are aware, checks made out to the state treasurer will be destroyed. Please make 1 payment per FEIN, and payments can take 2 to 3 business days to be withdrawn. Under no circumstance will we accept wire payments.
So once you file your report and you get to the end of filing, it's going to ask if you want to make your payment by direct debit. If you do so, you're going to select yes. If you don't, you would select no. If you select yes, you're going to see that it's going to ask for your tax ID number. It's going to ask for your bank information. You're going to be able to enter in all of that, and then you would click on submit. When you submit your payment with your report, you're going to get 1 confirmation number once you've filed your report. That confirmation number is good for your report as well as for your payment. So you're going to want to hold on to that for your records. This is also the opportunity that you have if you click on the View Submission button. It'll show you what you reported. You can print that out and have that for your records. We are not able to provide you with a copy of your holder report. So if you're going to need a copy of it, this is the time to print that copy and make sure that you hang on to it in a safe space. If you have not selected to make a payment when you filed your report, You can do so at this time, or you can come back later to our website and click on Make a Payment. If you made a payment when you filed your report and you click on the Make a Payment, you're basically going to be making a duplicate payment. It will get refunded to you, but it may take some time to do so and will be done via paper check. So if you're coming, again, if you're coming to our website to make a payment after you filed your report, you're going to click on Make a Payment. It's going to look like this, and it's going to kind of walk you through what you need to do in terms of entering all of your information.
The consequences of late filing and late paying. Late filed reports are subject to a $150 penalty. Late payments are subject to a penalty equal to 15% of the value of the property. Additional penalties may be imposed for $100 each day past the due date of written request by the department to file a report or pay or delivery of property.
So please do not send us paper copies of your holder report, verification letters. There's nothing that you need to notarize. We don't need a notification that you're about to file. Please don't send us electronic storage medias like thumb drives or CDs. Those get shredded. We won't even look at them. A negative report, if you have no physical presence in Wisconsin and you are not a bank, a insurance company, or a financial or a utility company.
Properties reported can be advertised and available to claim within 3 business days. Do not delay if you need to file a holder reimbursement claim. We have a data match process that's done in January or early February, and property may no longer be in our possession. So as soon as you know that you reported something in error, something got paid out and you want funds back, file that holder request immediately. Transfer securities to our security custodian when you file the holder report. Please see the holder report guide for instructions on page 11. And do not send explosives or dangerous items through the mail.
And we understand that sometimes there can be some strange or unsafe contents in a safe deposit box. If you do come across something like that, please contact us, let us know, and let us know how it's going to be delivered. But that should not be sent through the Postal Service to us. You can visit our website at revenue.wi.gov to unclaimed property, and that will get you right to where you need to go to report. You can also come to our website to search and claim for property that might belong to you or your company, your family, your friends, simply by clicking on the search and claim and then entering in your information.
We have a list of available holder reporting and resources. We have information regarding our voluntary disclosure application, how to file a report. Our holder guide is located there, a list of common questions. You can file the extension, how to make a holder report payment, and our different options for holder reporting.
We also have some helpful videos on our website that you are welcome to review. If you need a little additional assistance or have some more questions, these are a good tool if you want a little more step-by-step process of the holder reporting process.
If you run into any questions, you can certainly give us a call or email us at dorwiholderreports@wisconsin.gov. We also have a live chat available Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30 by clicking on live chat.
Please reach out to us if you do have any questions about the process. And again, the questions that come from this webinar will be shared on our website.
And sometimes it may be easier to give us a phone call versus an email. We may better be able to help you that way.
And you know, we are a small unit, and we handle thousands and thousands of reports So we do get a lot of questions, and we do get a lot of email every day. We ask for a little grace in responding to those emails, as again, we are a very, very small unit. So what property type code is best to use for virtual currency? Currently, we're having you use the ZZZ, properties not identified, for virtual currency that has been liquidated. And then, is it only financial institutions, utility companies, and life insurance companies required to file a negative report for no unclaimed property reported? As in, if a retail business does not have unclaimed property to report for the current period, they do not have to file a negative filing requirement, and that is correct. Only financial institutions, utility companies, and life insurance companies with a physical presence in Wisconsin are required to report each year. If you do not have any unclaimed property to report this year, and you are not a financial institution, a utility company, or a life insurance company with a physical property presence in Wisconsin, you do not need to submit a holder report.
If we know the property owner is now deceased, do we have to hold the property for the applicable dormancy period? No. If you can verify the person is deceased, you should just allow a reasonable amount of time for an heir to come forward. We consider a reasonable amount of time 6 to 12 months. If an heir has come forward to claim the property of a deceased recipient, how do we proceed with the payment? Are we able to issue to the heir? What type of documentation would be required? If you still have the item and an heir has come forward before you have reported the item to us, you would follow your business protocol or procedures for payment, then you would not have to report any of that.
Can you review the safe deposit box sheetman process? Absolutely. So you need to hold on to safe deposit boxes for 5 years and do your due diligence in finding the owners. After that dormancy period, you should include safe deposit boxes on your report that are, and a reminder that your report is due November 1st. The safe deposit box contents are not due until December 1st. There is a form UCP 120 on our website, and that should be completed for each box that you report to us. Please make sure that if there are drilling fees or past due rent, that each amount is reported correctly on that sheet. And please do not send us if the box has only a paper clip or a pen cap, something, you know, insignificant items such as that, like maybe there is a bill wrapper. Those type of things, you can consider that safe deposit box is abandoned, is done, it has no value.
How soon are funds or property available to be claimed on the Wisconsin Department of Revenue site after they are remitted? Once a holder report and payment are reconciled, the properties appear on the website. This can be as soon as 3 days after the report and funds are received. Due to the large volume we receive in October through December, some properties may take longer.
Is there a minimum reporting threshold for deposit accounts? We have reported accounts with 1 cent in them in the past, and it seems like a lot of work for such a small amount. It is a lot of work for such a small amount, but there is no minimum requirement. So even if you just have a penny laying around that doesn't belong to you, you haven't been able to return to the rightful owner, you do want to report it.
Do cities and counties report unclaimed refunds? Cities and counties only report uncashed paychecks to unclaimed property. Is it correct that a municipality reports unclaimed property to their county, not through the process to the state? Correct. See statute 59.66. Only report uncashed paychecks to us here at Unclaimed Property. If there is a cashier's check, does the due diligence letter go to the remitter or the payee, and who is the owner? The due diligence letter should go to the remitter. We pay the remitter unless the payee has a copy of the check. When reporting, information for both should be included.
And if you have additional questions, please feel free to use the question and answer box, and we will read those off as they come in.
We are going to take a moment to review any questions that are currently being asked.
So we have a question of, what if the only item in the safe deposit box is a copy of the lease? Should that be remitted? No, if the only thing that's there is the copy of the lease, there's no actual contents in the box, it's considered of no value. You do not need to report that. Does the statement delivery count as contact with the member in that time frame? So if you're sending out statements and you're getting confirmation that it's been delivered, then yes, that would count as contact. How do you file a voluntary disclosure agreement? There is a link on our website. You would go to our website and click on the holder options, and there's a link there that says to file a voluntary disclosure agreement. You click on that link and it'll take you right through the process. What criteria is needed to get extension granted? So basically you just need to apply for that extension. We are pretty generous in granting those extension. If you haven't had one before, if you're filing for the first time, if maybe the person who did your filing is left and you've got a new person in that position, those would all be grounds for requesting an extension, or perhaps you just need more time. We understand that that happens. Are there special requirements for reporting IRAs since they are a tax account? So you just want to look through our holder guide, if the IRA is really considered, the person has reached that that age, it's considered dormant, you can report it. And at one point was 5 years for the dormancy period. It has moved down to 3 years. And there is some information about that in our holder guide. Can we charge a dormancy fee on a saving or checking account up to the date that we need to turn the money over? That really depends on what type of agreement you have with the customer. And that would really be determined by what your policy is, when you entered into a contract with that customer, what did you agree on? So that really comes down to your own policies and what your agreement with the customer is. For business-to-business reporting exemption, does it have to be an ongoing relationship? It should be that you have a active business that you are working with. If the business that you have that relationship with is now non-existent, then you would want to report the property. But as long as it's an existing business and you still have a relationship with them, then you would not need to report that property. We have a question about being new to this process and submitting a report for the first time. Do you have to have an account set up? You don't. You come to our website, which is the revenue.wi.gov. You're going to click on the holder information file holder report, and it's going to walk you right through. You can either add the attachment and submit a NAPA format, a NAPA report, or you can manually enter. But you do not have to register ahead of time or have an account set up.
However, you will need an account set up if you want to submit payments. But you can contact us and we can set that up, and you would have to wait 24 hours before you do so.
To make the payment, that's correct. If a vendor has not cashed a check, is the dormancy period considered 5 years? So you would go from the date the check is issued. If we are aware of a name change of the property owner, but the original property was under their previous name, do we report in their old name or the new name? If you're aware that the property owner has changed the name and the property belongs to them, you can use the new name. If you are not aware of such a thing, then obviously you're going to go with the information that you have. But the most current, most recent, accurate information that you have does make it a lot easier for us to be able to reunite that property with the proper owner. In HRS Pro, the remitter and the payee are added as individual entries. Then whoever claims it first. So I'm not sure I'm understanding that question. I think it's saying, are the remitter and payee added as individual entries? And I'm not if I'm understanding your question correctly, you're asking if you report it twice. From my reading there, you really would report the property once with a remitter, and it would be a joint property with a remitter and a payee. It's one property. The remitter would be the one that we would tend to pay out unless the payee was able to come forward with a copy of that check. Is there any threshold below which property is not required to be turned over? For example, a client overpayment of $1. There is no threshold. So again, even if it's just a penny, it still needs to be reported and turned over. On reciprocity, I'm seeing differently than stated. For example, the state of Iowa's website says that they do not have reciprocity with other states. No, therefore, all businesses with unclaimed property, they do not have their unclaimed property for Iowa must be reported directly to Iowa State Treasurer's Office. Do you have any insight on this? Every state has their own individual rules and policies, but we certainly do send stuff to Iowa and have received things from Iowa. But I guess if you are, if you're looking at a state and they're asking you to report directly to them, I would follow their guidance. But as far as Wisconsin is concerned, if we do receive a property for any state with the exception of California, we do turn it over to that state. Doesn't say anything about, so if you do have an ongoing relationship with a currently active business, you do not need to report that property. The question is that it doesn't say anything about being an ongoing relationship or current active business. And so again, if you do have an ongoing relationship with an active business, that's considered business to business and it is not a property that you need to report. Okay, so there's a question about the financial institutions that are providing electronic or mailing periodic bank statements, and that if those statements are not being returned due to a bad address, that those accounts are not submitted as unclaimed property. So if you're mailing things out, either email or through the physical mail, and they are getting to your client, it's considered that they are still an active account. So those you would not need to report. If we will be first-time filers and have more than 10 payees outside of Wisconsin, can we file them together? So if the 10 payees outside of Wisconsin are for different states, yes, you can report them to Wisconsin as long as the bulk of your reporting is for Wisconsin. But you can only do up to 10 properties that are outside of Wisconsin. So if you have over 10 properties for folks outside of Wisconsin, you are going to want to report those to that state that they belong to. Okay, there's a question about reporting property that is past the last 5 reporting periods, where we talked earlier about there is the $150 late fee. It's asking if that fee is per property or a one-time fee for all property reported that's past the current and last 5 reporting periods. So if you do have property that is past the reporting period, we would strongly encourage you to file for the voluntary disclosure agreement. When you enter into that, you won't have that penalty or fee for turning over that property. The $150 late fee is per report. So if you do have property that again has exceeded the reporting periods, do see if you qualify for the voluntary disclosure agreement. And if you do, we encourage you to apply for that, because when that is granted, then you won't have that late filing fee. If you are mailing a due diligence letter and do not get a response from that letter, then yes, you would go ahead and escheat that account. Okay, we have a question. The statute says this chapter does not apply to any of the following: a property held, due, or owing in a foreign country if the transaction out of which the property arose was a foreign transaction, or any payment or credit shown on the books and records of a business association owned to another business association in the ordinary course of business. I'm not sure what the question is there. If you can maybe elaborate, I will do my best to answer. Question, we've used Sovos UP Exchange software before, and if the address wasn't in Wisconsin, it would kick it out and not let us submit to Wisconsin. Can we manually report those then in a second report? Yes, absolutely. You can do a second report. You can manually enter that report if you need to, but yes, you can absolutely report anything that wasn't included in your first report in a second report. We have a safe deposit box with a driver's license, social security card, and birth certificate in it. Do we send those to us? Yes, that's definitely something that you would report as unclaimed property. What do I do with monies for a person that has an address listed that is for a different country? If you are located in Wisconsin and that entity is listed in a different country, you can report the funds to the state of Wisconsin. Again, the more information you can report about that person, the better the likelihood of returning the funds to that individual. What if the contents of the safe deposit box are paper, vehicle titles, birth certificates, marriage certificates, etc.? Do we still follow the unclaimed property process? Yes. So if you have anything that could be considered of value or meaningful to that individual, anything that is even if it's paper, if it's a vehicle title, if it's a birth certificate, if it's photographs, marriage certificate, if it's bank statements or correspondence, things like that, you absolutely would report to us. It's basically when you open up that safe deposit box and there's a pen cap or a paper clip in it, and that's the only thing in the box, or it's the lease agreement and that's the only thing in the box, then it would be considered worthless and you would not need to report it. But if there's anything that owner of the box might consider to have value to them, you want to report it to us. What happens if a company reports unclaimed property but then is sold to another company? How do you get the details of the claim to provide to the owner, or all the details provided on the unclaimed property report? Hopefully all of the information about the property is going to be on that unclaimed property report, but that's again is exactly why it's so important that people include all the information that they have, because when a person comes forward to try to make or claim their unclaimed property and there's limited information and a business is no longer active, it makes it really difficult to ensure that the person claiming the property is actually the property owner. So again, the more information that you can provide about that individual, the more likely it is to get that property returned to that individual, especially if it's a company that no longer exists or hasn't existed for some time. There's another question about getting an extension granted. Really, we are very generous in granting an extension. Basically, you need to file that request for the extension, and unless there are some really egregious extenuating circumstances, that extension will be granted. So we have another question about due diligence letters, and once you've determined that an account is dormant, it's had no activity, and you've sent that due diligence letter. If you do not receive a response from that due diligence letter, then you would consider that property dormant and reportable. There's a question that's asking about, do we have to give 60 days to respond to the due diligence letter? Yes.